I wasn't gonna tee up this topic, but it did make me think. So all of us, AMs that you want to be something in the golf world. There's a hot debate here recently of pros getting their AM status back, and I think it impacted the mid AM. I don't want to misstate it, but roughly what was it, about 75% of the players that made match play were professionals reinstated. And it's such a I don't have a black and white answer. Curious your thoughts on it, because I do think it's gray, because not all professionals are created equal in terms of status and how many years, the gaps of time. But I will say, like playing the amateur circuit in Georgia, yeah, there's like 20 names that are on every leaderboard, and 15 of them are reinstated pros. So, uh, thoughts on just the delineation between AM events, mid AM? Is there a good solution to this, or is it even a problem?
Yeah, I mean, I played pro golf for a
Mhm.
couple of years back in my day in like '06, '07. I played mini tour golf, made almost no money, which
Mhm.
was a lot of fun. It was a good time in my life. A lot of really positives when you literally have a job where you don't make any money. The process for me to get my amateur status back, I remember, was pretty substantial. That was back when it was a 3, 4, 5 year process to kind of go through the whole situation. I think, and you stated it well. I thought, not every pro is created equal. I think if you there's probably a level of how many starts you've had. Let's call it Corn Ferry Tour and PGA Tour combined. I think if you've hit a certain threshold, the process should probably be longer. The other thing I do think, at least the way I think about it, and this would affect me, which is fine, is I do think the mid am space should probably be amateurs, kind of like almost lifelong amateur. The fact that the mid am specifically has turned into kind of where you go when it didn't work out professionally is just a tough situation. That, or create something else, like a different championship for the reinstated pros that can play in that space. But the problem is, you do have a world of these great amateur players that are kind of getting shoved out by the reinstated pros, who again are just looking to compete. Like, it's not their fault.
Right.
It's not, they're allowed to do it. It's not anybody's fault, because that's part of how we do this. But I would like, either if you've played, let's say, 10 PJ Tour, Corn Ferry Tour events in your career, or you've made X amount of dollars, or you've made X amount of cuts, maybe the process getting back to it is 5 years or something like that. Or there's a different championship that these guys are allowed to play in that maybe could, maybe the reinstated pro
Mhm.
championship would make a little bit more sense. But it does feel like it's shoved out this kind of world that seemed like it was meant to be amateur golf, and it's made it a lot tougher for people to compete in that space. And this isn't a new 2025 thing. I mean, I remember doing the mid ams for Fox back in the day, and we'd have reinstated pros that were winning that. And this was
Yeah.
6, 7, 8 years ago. So it's not something new. I just think it does. The idea of amateur seems like it's been affected a little bit.
Mhm.
And I just think it'd be cool if there was maybe both worlds could exist a little bit.
Yeah, I'm conflicted, because it's probably not great podcast just say, hey, we're in violent agreement with every take. But I think I'm pretty much right there, because there's a couple guys that listen. One's locally in my group, and one's I know very successful mid am in the state. Both reinstated professionals, but honestly, completely different journeys. One was kind of similar to yours, and we're kind of far removed, but one really tried it for 15 years straight. Now, granted, not loads of success, but was full time professional golfing for a decade and a half. And it was not a I don't know exactly all the rules right now, but it was not a long process to reinstate. And then, yeah, he's in the championship of Georgia match play, and
Yeah.
he's about to play in the Georgia Mid Am championship. And hey, very nice guy, love him. I like to beat him from time to time, but yeah, I don't know if that's really what we were intending to do. Aaron, any thoughts on the amateur game there?
No, I was just curious what it meant to get your amateur status back. It kind of makes sense to think what it would mean to become a pro. Is it just you have to take a certain amount of time off? You just don't.
Yeah, I think when I did it, I think it was time off. I think, yeah, there was a gap between kind of last professional event, last time earning money, and at the time I did it, it's probably 7, 8 years ago. I believe there was, because I played mini tour golf in like '06, '07, '08. So I
Mhm.
mean, this was then a huge gap. I took a long time off from competing at golf after that. I just didn't have a lot of interest after trying to pursue the quote unquote dream of mine to do that. And then when I did start to get interested in the amateur game, I'd never really gone through the process. So then I could have done the process during that break, and I never did. So then I had another break of time, maybe a year or two, might have been a little bit longer. I don't remember
Right.
exactly how long it was, but you have to go through this process with the USGA to be declared an amateur again, and they go through the events you played in and the amount of money you've earned in X amount of events. But now it's a lot shorter. I think now it's very much like a 6, 8, 10 month process of
Yeah.
basically I haven't played a pro event, since this
Well,
date, and now I'm officially an
well,
amateur
Yeah, that's
golfer
not
again.
enough.
yeah, and I got two thoughts on it. One, Shane, we give you a pass because you took the career path of '06, '07, '08, trying to be a pro golfer, didn't make money, entered the workforce at the time of the worst recession since the Great Depression, and then decided to take it. So I think we could give that a pass. But and then USGA, I'm not here to do an anti-USGA rant, but it's big money in these events for them too. So I'm sure these guys that are basically working a full-time amateur golf schedule. It's a lot of fervent participants. So, it is what it is.